Dang, man. The world is a chaotic place, and navigating it as a modern man can be tough. But don't worry. The Hart brothers are here to tackle masculinity one topic at a time to help out men just like you. So here we go, bros. This is Dang Man.
All right, hey, bros. We're back with the second half of our two-part series on Stoicism. Last episode, we tackled some of the positive aspects of Stoicism, and for the most part, felt pretty good about what we learned along the way. But the unease I felt walking into that first episode is what I'm expecting to come right back as we delve into this episode, where we'll talk about the negative aspects of Stoicism. So as we dig into this, I think the main thing to think about is that awful trash holes will always break things, but it's complicated. So get ready to have complicated feelings about the topic, but more importantly, that the world as a whole is a complicated mess. If you all have been following us this long, you know that masculinity has followed a similarly complicated journey. So buckle up, bros. Will we talk about crusty, ancient misogyny today? Maybe. Will we talk about homonyms? Yes, sir, we will. Will the rolling tragedy of the Manosphere come back to haunt us? You bet your ass it will. So here we go, bros. This is Dang Man.
I'm Mike.
I'm James.
And I'm Tim. So I think the biggest question I have right now after this last week is, how did you dodge surgery, Mike? So
That's what. Don't say it. That's how I'm gonna
Right?
knock on wood. I am the only one who has not been pierced by the surgeon's blade this week.
Oh yeah.
Well, be grateful.
So yeah, I was showing James earlier on my folks who can't see this, but I got my big rig on right now. Like, so my shoulder is strapped in, and James was curious about, I got a little holster for a stress ball, so I can sit there. It's got like a quick release stress ball, so I can squish it, and then
What?
It's not really concealed carry, but it is carry. I get to carry my stress balls.
Regular open carry.
Regular open carry stress ball.
It's the Wild West over here.
Yeah. So
Does your
for
arm
folks
hurt?
who
Squeeze this.
Yeah. So for folks who aren't aware of our lives at this point, I had my rotator cuff surgery 2 days ago. So for full disclaimer, I've got one Norco in me right now. So if we go off the rails, I blame it on the Norco. Okay.
Nice.
So I get to officially shower tomorrow. So that's exciting. I'm looking forward to a shower. And I get my I think I'm super glued together. I don't think I have steri strips. I think I got super glue this time, but they get to take my my dressing off tomorrow to see how it looks underneath there. So, but James,
Nice.
I've heard, how many holes did you have poked in your guts?
Well, I ended up with 5.
Whoa.
Nice.
Yeah. So I went in last Thursday for some belly pain. Ended up, my appendix decided to rupture. I don't recommend that to anybody. Thought I went early enough. It clearly, it wasn't quite early enough. So, according to the surgeon, it was a mess in there. Yeah. So that landed me, a nice, I think it was 3 or 4 nights in the hospital.
Jeez.
Again, don't recommend it at all. Yeah. So I'm on the mend. I'm getting better every day.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. From what I hear, abdominal surgery is different than shoulder surgery, because if I remember correctly, so Shannon had her not her appendix, but her gallbladder removed like 2-3 years ago or something like that. And if I remember correctly, they have to blow you up like a balloon. Is that right, James?
What? Yeah. So they literally, one of the holes is to just inflate your stomach so that all of the skin is no longer touching your organs. Yeah. So that they can see
so that the
better.
robots can see?
Yes. It's so the robots that they use can see better inside of you. And I'm going to tell you that it still doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
So
Did you get shoulder pain from it? Because if I remember right, it like sometimes the bubble actually migrates up to your
What?
shoulder because obviously it's an air
No.
bubble. So you haven't
Yeah, no.
experienced that. Shannon dodged that too, but from what I've heard, yeah, abdominal
No.
surgery you can get a bubble that settles up into your shoulder until it kind of dissipates over time. So
No, I was busy with my 104 fever and
Yeah.
antibiotics. Yeah.
cool.
Jeez.
Well, that's this week's over at this
That's
point. I would say
Pretty crappy
I'm done.
week. Yeah.
Done. Yep. So
Mhm.
now, do you have to do like physical therapy or anything, James, afterwards, or are you good?
No,
You're
just a couple more follow-ups with the surgical team, and then I'm hopefully good.
and you're clear. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got so my procedure, they basically anchor. They're not really screws. They're like an anchor into your bones. They had to drill a couple holes into my bone, and then use this type of like I don't think it's a wire, but some type of tissue adjacent thread to basically like stitch my tendon back to my bone. And then while they were in there, they're like, "Oh, you got some threads that are kind of, it's gonna turn into arthritis. So we're gonna clean all that up for you. Oh, and by the way, we also found a tear in your bicep." So we went ahead and fixed that for you. So I guess they warned me about that. I guess a bunch of people tear this, like, it's pretty common that you tear this like top upper part of your biceps, and then you don't feel it until like really late in life. So they're like, "Yeah, if we find it in there, we're gonna fix it for you since we're already poking around." So I was like, "Heck yeah, do the works, man. Do the works."
Yeah.
Do you get that for free, or like you have to pay extra for that?
No, that's
stuff
that's
they
a
find?
premium upgrade right there, Mike.
I
I'm
mean,
sure.
I feel like the mechanic, he's got to clear the work, before he does it. He's got to make sure I can afford it.
Yeah.
Like,
That's crazy.
yeah.
So we'll see what the afford it looks like, and when I get the bill, I'm sure. So
Yeah.
but yeah, then I got was it not next week? The week after I start physical therapy. So, but until then, I'm in a sling for about a month. So yeah, knock on all the wood, Mike. So you got no surgery. Have you ever had surgery?
I've had my wisdom teeth out.
Oh, yeah, well that doesn't count. That's outside your mouth. So okay.
That's it though.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, we're going to put officially a close to this week, and we're going to move on. And we're going to move on to some internet bullshit here. That's while I'm pulling it up here, I'm curious, Mike. You shared this internet bullshit with us, and decided that this was worthy of what is. So walk me through, like, what happened. You were at the dentist office? Is that right?
Actually, speaking of doctors, I was at the dentist this week having, actually I just had a checkup, but I was at the dentist, and there was a dad with his kid, and he had, I don't know which shirt it was. This is like an apparel company, but it was this one with the skull. And I was like, what does that one with the skull say? It was like really obnoxious. And I was looking at it, and I was like, this has a skull on it and a Bible verse. And does it say something about like God break the teeth of the wicked?
Yes, break the teeth of the wicked. Arise, Lord, deliver me, my God. Strike all my enemies on the jaw.
Dang.
So I had to send it to Tim and James.
That's awesome.
Internet bullshit.
Yeah,
I guess this is in real life bullshit too, since I saw this shirt in real life. But
yeah. But
I was offended.
Yes, and as you should have been, So, all right. So, yeah, for folks who want the lowdown here, this is the apparel brand 12 Legions. It is what I'll call like aggressive Christianity apparel. Something like that, right? This one is literally called the hardest verse in Psalms.
Yes.
I just don't get the like. It's like praying is feminine, and like Jesus telling you to turn the other cheek. Oh, that's wimpy and feminine. But crush the teeth of my enemies, like that turns me on to that's manly Christianity or now, huh?
Yes.
Like
this is, like I said, aggressive version of Christianity. So you can buy all sorts of different apparel from them. There's hoodies and t-shirts. You can buy flags. and stickers and stuff like that. But they're all the same. I don't know, like 8 different designs here. And so when I started digging through this, what I thought was interesting was there's a range. Okay, so there's the Psalms for the hardest Psalm. There was Psalm 3:7, I guess. I don't know which translation of the Bible that is, but and then there's like overtly Crusader-esque. So Isaiah 6:8 is the book, chapter, and verse there. So I was like, what is this stuff? So I actually looked up what is the reference to the 12 legions.
I was wondering about that.
Now I'm not above using Gemini here, Google's AI, to kind of summarize this for me. But so here it says 12 legions of angels is a phrase spoken by Jesus in Matthew 26:53 to describe the immense heavenly force he could have summoned to prevent his arrest. So
they just missed the point. They just missed it. It's so close.
Yes.
Yeah.
So close.
Yeah. So basically it was like Jesus could have summoned, what do they say? A legion. They did the math. Basically a legion is about 6,000 people. So Jesus could have summoned 72,000 warrior angels to prevent his arrest by Pontius Pilate. If you remember your religion, your New Testament of the Bible. But he chose not to. So
yeah, instead he sacrificed himself like a man.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, this whole brand is based off this verse in the New Testament that is talking about how he didn't choose violence, and but every single thing here is about violence. So yeah, I'll give you a kind of a brief description here. So there's an angel stepping on a dude. That's Saint Michael, I guess, stomping this dude out, curb stomping him. Broken the skull with the broken jaw. There's this Crusader guy here. And for the record, I'm pretty sure we all collectively agreed maybe, I don't know, 100 years ago that the Crusades probably weren't the greatest thing that happened.
Right.
Well, and that always drives me nuts too, because we still have like half of all, independent private Christian schools are named like the Crusaders.
Yes.
Yeah.
My wife's public school, she teaches
even public schools
is the Crusaders.
No
yes.
way.
And I was like, I'm pretty sure you guys should change that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should get on
and
that.
it's funny because there are like her community is very much not Christian. Also, like a lot of kids from like India or the Middle East come to her school, and I'm like, this is awful, guys. Like, you guys need to change this. So, I like this shirt is called the Samson Strength Club. Let's see what it says here. Judges 4:6. The Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him so that he tore the lion apart with his bare hands as he might have torn a young goat. Oh, man.
The strongest man to ever walk the earth.
Oh, Samson. Oh, geez. What parables you gave us.
Oh, my God.
But yeah, this is so problematic, in my opinion, because, I mean, obviously we're living through a very, conservative, ultra conservative time frame where there's a lot of influence of this stuff. But like at the end of the day, like this is just calling for overt. If you don't like Jesus or you don't like my God or my religion, I will just break your jaw. Is what this is saying.
Yep.
Like,
yeah. I mean, that's the imagery of all this, like the Roman crosses and the knights, like. It is. It's all very much, this is our team and we're going to smash your jaw if you're not on our team.
Yeah. Yeah. So I did look into, so they have this, you can go onto our mission page, and outside of the 12 Legions mission is twofold. It says, first is create the hardest Christian apparel on the planet.
Well, of course.
And second, have an incredibly powerful impact on building the kingdom while doing so. So they started off as like donating profits to like to nonprofits organization Feed by Starving Children. They donated $2,000 to Compassion International's Where Most Needed Fund, I guess the name of it. And then another $5,000. I'm pretty sure I raise that much money through Movember every year, bros.
Heck yeah.
Suck it up. Do better.
Hey, be careful.
Raise
They're
more
gonna
money.
bust your teeth.
That's right. So, but I can't find anything here that's like, I don't know, anything really super compelling. But I was hoping I could find some reviews. I keep seeing these reviews pop up here. I want to see if I can get one. Here we go. Yeah, let's click on it. So Nathaniel B loves his sticker. He put it on, it looks like his Jeep. Oh, man.
Yeah, he's got the skull one on his Jeep, too. Is that a Mason's sticker, too?
Oh, it might
on
be.
his truck? Sorry, that's
know.
still going to be a rabbit hole, but that looks
Yeah,
like a
it is.
Mason
It is,
symbol.
yeah.
Yes. Okay, so he's all sorts of confused on his his identity. So this guy loves Tom D, gave it 5 stars. Love the shirt, fits really well. Snug, but not too tight. Quality printed, the fabric is soft and not too heavy. Great for warm weather. It seems like he's just basically indifferent on what the shirt should feel or fit like. So, but is that a picture of his back?
What
It
is
is.
that?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
that?
that's
He took a picture of his back from over his head.
from above?
It looks like he held his phone over his head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
going on?
So, this guy put the decal on his Voyager that I'm assuming is his motorcycle. So, this brand, it is what it is. I don't know. I feel like there's better things you should do with your religion than try to overtly punch somebody in the jaw with it. So,
Yeah. Right.
So 12 legions out of, where is it from? From Austin, Texas. Austin's a pretty chill town, I feel like. Why besmirch
Come on, Austin.
the
Why are
good
you standing
city
for
of
this
Austin?
stuff?
Yes.
Mm.
So, but 12 legions, you are officially on my internet bullshit list at this point. So
Same.
get
Yeah.
out
Congratulations.
All right. So, well, that was a fun little tangent there. So, all right, let's get back into this. So let's take a trip down memory road here. Okay. It's only been a couple weeks, although it's been a fraught couple of weeks here. I don't know how much I remember, but the highlights from last episode. So the teachings of the Stoics talked about this analytical approach to how an action or observation turns into an emotion, but it's up to us to determine how we react to that emotion. Okay, the things that are in our control are our judgments, and that's all. That's about it. That's about all we can actually control from their perspective. While we may have influence over things that are out of our control, we are not in complete control of those. They are inherently just outside of our control. It is a disciplined life that they strive to live by controlling those judgments to a situation that is out of their control. So secondly, is that they are inherently cosmopolitan. Which is a fancy word. I love to use the word cosmopolitan in its actual fashion outside of the magazine. So,
Right.
So the basis of being a good human is the work of the Stoic, and their definition of that is to be a good member of the society. So this rolls into great leaders in society who are directly or indirectly influenced by the classic Stoics. And lastly, their view on death says a lot about how they view their life. They accept that death is inevitable and spend their life striving for how they will be remembered beyond their death and less about the material or what the Stoics would have called indifference, things that don't have an impact on your character. I also want to call out that I found an awesome resource that must have paralleled the research and observations that I found. So there's a channel on YouTube called Aperture, and they published a video in September 2024 titled How Stoicism Became the World's Greatest Scam. Everything I found in that video, I had also found in my research. So it was very validating for me to see that. While I'm not an expert, they did have 3 experts that essentially echoed the findings that I had from my research. So where do we go from here? When I went into researching this episode, the first thing I did was Google Stoicism and see what the first few hits were. Then I did the same thing on YouTube. what you can expect to see is exactly what I found. As we all know, the top hits on Google or YouTube are less about the accuracy or legitimacy of those, and more about how many visitors or subscribers funnel into that content. The three themes that I picked up on were, in fact, the homonym that is at the root of the rest of the superficial co-opting of Stoicism that has created the modern flawed takes on it. That is the difference between uppercase Stoicism and the term Stoic. Next is what I'll call the enshittification of Stoicism. People who have taken Stoicism as a way to sell a Temu version of it to people looking for meaning in their life. And lastly is the bastards, the Manospheres co-opting, downright stealing Stoicism and breaking it to fit their misogynistic mold. The term coined by the folks over from that Aperture video was called Broicism.
Nice.
Trash. Right. So, yeah, essentially it is trash. So before I dig into this completely, I do want to touch on two things to keep in mind when it comes to my overall analysis for this. First is that the classical Stoics lived 2,000 years or more ago and can come off as bigoted people because the world was not an inclusive place at the time. In fact, if you remember, I mentioned last time that Musonius Rufus, one of the Stoics that I read, was seen as radical for claiming that women and kids should be taught Stoicism because they were human, after all, and could benefit from it also. But at the same time, he also argued against things like birth control or abortion because he felt it was better to surround yourself with family who will follow you to the end of the world versus friends who may ultimately not and just bail on you. So there should always be a critical lens that you view the classic Stoics through. Like I've mentioned in the past, look at the principle of what is being said, not necessarily the rule or parameters they operate within that they are arguing. And sometimes they are just outright wrong. The second thing is that I've seen arguments that researching Stoicism is technically free, so therefore any money spent on it is somehow sacrilegious. Kind of like those t-shirts just a minute ago. So now you can find free versions of most of the works of the great Stoics. Just go find them. They're in PDFs all over the place. However, just like how you wouldn't pick a free version of, let's say, a therapist, or that the surgeon who was cutting into me the other day didn't just fumble their way through med school using WebMD as their guidance, right? I do highly recommend guidance from a qualified coach or mentor. And that is not always free. For instance, these works are translated from an ancient version of Greek or Latin. Or heck, Zenu, the first Stoic philosopher, didn't write down any of his own thoughts or teachings. They were all secondhand writings from witnesses and students. So one person who is translating something may pick a different way to translate the same sentence. So while I can appreciate that you can find free versions, and you should go get those if affordability is a barrier, truly trying to incorporate Stoicism into your life may require some guidance from a qualified person. Now, the key word there is qualified. All right, so now my little preamble is out of the way. Let's get into this. All right, I'm going to ask you guys a question. When I say the word Stoic, what do you guys think that means? And how would that be different from the uppercase Stoicism?
I mean, like colloquially.
Colloquially?
There's a word there somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think people use it to just mean like stone faced, right? You don't react to anything.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's what I was going to say. Like, just like emotionless, you know?
Yeah, emotionless. It's a good word too. Yeah.
Sure. How is that different from maybe the read on Stoicism last time?
Well, like it's much deeper than that. That's like, that is like a very surface take, I guess, on it. Like what are the 4 words? There's like 4 things: wisdom,
temperance,
justice, I think.
Justice and courage. Mhm.
Yeah, encourage. Yeah, like those I think are, a more expression of the fuller idea of Stoicism.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I
Yeah, yeah.
think like what we talked about last week or not last week, last episode was, um, that you can be, emotion is there and you're going to have it. It's how you choose to use it. Right. I think we kind of talked or hit on that a little bit, right? Like it's how your response matters, It doesn't
Sure,
mean
yeah.
that you just are stone faced and have no response. You just need to have an appropriate response.
Yeah. Yeah. So as I've been mostly bedridden for the last day or so, I decided I was going to go watch some Chuck Norris movies.
Mm.
Not great. They did not age well.
They didn't age
is
well?
what I'll say. No, no. Um, in fact, he is probably the definition of what I would call lowercase stoic in a lot of his movies. The only time he got really upset was when the bad guy shot his dog. And and Lone Wolf McQuade. And what did he do? He punched the ground and then carried his dog away to be buried. So,
Wow.
So, but yeah, it's like that. You guys are spot on, right? So the Webster Dictionary defines the adjective stoic as not affected by or showing passion or feeling. So for me, again, like this conjures up images of movies, right? Specifically from the 80s and 90s. I think of the other one that pops in my mind is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Okay. So I don't even remember Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, but Indiana Jones is going to rescue all the kids from the mines. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this one big dude, like this big bad guy. So Indiana Jones winds up and he punches this guy right in the face. And the guy just turns his face and like unfazed. Like that guy is stoic, in my opinion. So now I think you contrast this with what I see in the term sociopath. You guys know the term sociopath? Like a sociopath, where a person doesn't have the emotional or empathetic connection that would allow them to fit in society. So to me, the difference between a stoic person and a sociopath is one is a disorder that the person does not choose, and one is a personal choice. And that's it. Like that was very like enlightening for me, where it's like they're trying to accomplish the same thing, but one person is essentially doing it through choice. So when a man chooses to be stoic to an extreme level, repressing emotions, they are, like Bell Hooks describes like this. She says, the first act of violence that patriarchy demands of males is not violence towards women. Instead, patriarchy demands of all males that they engage in acts of psychic self-mutilation, that they kill off the emotional parts of themselves. If an individual is not successful in emotionally crippling himself, he can count on patriarchal men to enact rituals of power that will assault his self-esteem. So, spot on, Bell Hooks. Always spot on.
Again.
While I do believe that being stoic does stem from the Stoics' belief that your emotions should be regulated in a response to an observation, like we talked about last episode, that does not mean a lack of emotion, but that the emotion that results in a reaction is logically regulated. You can see how the English language has created this problem. Those dang homonyms. All of the modern sources on Stoicism, at least the reputable ones, literally start off by discussing this. So every single book I read that's summarized or video or anything started off by being like, now we don't mean stoic. There's lowercase stoic and uppercase stoicism. Don't confuse the two. So
it's really wild how widely that needs to be called out. Like you said, multiple sources were saying
it was
making
something
this distinction. Yeah.
That they all felt so compelled to address right out of the gates because of that misinterpretation. So the Stoics kind of bucket what we see as emotions into natural responses to stimuli, and those that result in what Seneca describes as temporary madness. Okay, so there are bad emotions and there's good emotions. The bad ones are what he would call temporary madness, right? If you get punched in the face, you're probably going to go mad for a second, right? Versus I see something beautiful and I start to tear up, right, because of its beauty. So
Sure.
So the difference between how rational the feeling is and how it supports a virtuous life is kind of the root of it all. So in Lessons in Stoicism that I referred to last time by John Sellars, he describes it like this. According to the Stoics, a parent's love for their child is not an irrational emotion best avoided. Instead, it is a more or less universal natural instinct. We are by nature inclined to care for ourselves, pursue those things we need to live, and avoid those things that might harm us, all for the sake of self-preservation. That instinct for self-preservation soon extends to those close to us, first to our close family members, but ideally to all other people. So remember, the whole reason a person practicing Stoicism tries to live a virtuous life is in order to be a good member of society. So it's less about the repression of all feelings and more about the regulation of how feelings turn into a response. Like we said last time, this belief is what eventually led Dr. Aaron T. Beck to develop CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy, as a method for people to reflect on how their mind interprets situations into an outcome and how past experiences apply filters or assumptions to that situation, resulting in a behavioral outcome that may be harmful to a person's well-being. So let's dig into this for a minute. So in your guys' opinion, how did we get here where the lowercase stoic has been misapplied? Any thoughts there?
I think that people do this like all over the place. When you were just reading that, Tim, my mind, I remembered a book that I read called Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow by Daniel Kahneman. And the whole book is basically, there's lots of great research and stuff in there, but the whole book, that his premise is basically that, the way humans have evolved to think about things, like he I guess describes this pattern of how when we receive information as humans, like we have two different systems within our brain to evaluate that information. And so when new information hits us, like the first part of our brain is this fast thinking, responsive part of our brain that has to like quickly take in information and then like make a judgment call on that information.
Sure.
But thinking slow is this second portion of our thinking processes, where that information has time to kind of sit and be maybe compared with other information that we've received in the past, or like we actually sit and think about that information. And then we later on more slowly make this like this slow thinking allows us maybe to come to different conclusions than we came to. And I think that people do this all over the place. But they do this here too, because I think and we're going to talk about the internet in a little bit, I think, but like when we see something like the Stoicism on the internet, we often don't take time to think slowly about things. We hear stoic and my brain goes, I know what stoic is. It is, it's not doing anything except punching the ground maybe a little bit when my dog dies. Like that's right. And then we spend all of our time in our fast thinking part of our brain and like don't ever maybe stop and ask a question about that information and think a little bit more deeply about it. Like I wish people would do this with Stoicism. I wish they would do this with politics. Like people on the right are just inherently only fast thinkers. Like if you stop for, sure, it sounds like maybe there's a nuclear weapon in Iran and we've got to keep ourselves safe. That's fast thinking. If you stop and look at this situation for more than 2 seconds, right, use your slow thinking a little bit, and you'll see that there's some holes with that, And I think the same thing happens here with Stoicism. Like there's some great stuff in there, and we're going to talk about it. And I've already talked too much on this point, but that's how I think we've gotten here, is because people use their fast thinking way more than their slow thinking, and that's why we end up with this.
People want the easy button. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Sure,
I want to be a stoic because that looks cool. I'm going to take my daily dose for 30 seconds, and here I go.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. I think there's two things that I would say about this. First is like just your point about the easy button, James. Like at work, I wrestle with this also. Like a term that somebody misused like 12, 15 years ago has done so much damage in how people think with as a manufacturing nerd here, like how they set up their equipment or how they run their and operate their equipment, right? And it's caused so much damage to the point where like I literally have to tell people I'm going to start calling this something else. Or in training documentation, I am going to start to remove this word because people don't know what it actually means anymore. And therefore, I just can't use the word. I have to call it something else, right? Mm-hmm. So there is like a linguistics thing behind this. Like linguistics is this whole like crazy set of like deep thinking in my opinion. I love the idea of linguistics and like how words come to be and how language means something. But like the idea behind there's something that somebody said, oh, I want to be stoic, but that meant something before it meant a word, right? They didn't know what the term was. They just saw, again, like they saw Chuck Norris in, missing in action. It was like, sweet, I want to be that guy, right? I want to be awesome like him. And it turned into like something very different than what the initial Stoics ultimately meant behind this. So, and to go back to Chuck Norris again, but like just in general, I think I made a comment at one point in time. I think it was on LinkedIn, my progressive social media of choice that is generally non-confrontational. But I made my hot take. My hot take on LinkedIn at one point was I said something to the effect of like, the American cowboy has done more damage to men than any other like icon. And like I think of like when you think of like the Lone Ranger, right, out there like, roughing up bad guys, and then what does he do? He just goes and sits by the campfire, and like, every cowboy ever has been a stoic of some kind. Very rarely do you find, maybe more modern takes would be more connected emotionally, but the idea of just iconography of America and the idea of what's like it means to be a man in that iconography is exactly what kind of like Bell Hooks is saying, where it's like all very much patriarchal, and that means that the lowercase stoic is idolized almost. Like it's like we've always idolized the stoic man. So
and definitely like put it as a core like masculine value trait.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know of any like stoic women, right? Like I can't think
or
of
at least that's not a and or if you can think of one, it's not like that's not like a core value of women.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I like it all boils down to the same thing. Like we, in my opinion, this is my interpretation of it. Like when we all had kids, right? And the kids like go off, right? Something upsets them and they just go off the rails. And we're like we don't want to be that child, right? Like behaving not like a child means you've grown up and can regulate your emotions. Mm-hmm. But the Cowboys took it too far. Sorry, guys. So nobody liked that post, by the way, for the record on LinkedIn. Nobody liked my anti-Cowboys post. So not that I have a problem with Cowboys. Tim. I know. Like I said, I've been reading Lonesome Dove still, so still enjoying it. So, but be more emotional in your life, Cowboys. So, all right, so let's keep on going here.
Isn't there a Willie Nelson song about that?
Yeah, man. The whole. Well, I mean, there's lots of Willie Nelson songs out there about blue
Cowboys.
Eyes crying in the rain and stuff like that. Willie Nelson's my jam.
Yeah.
Redheaded stranger. So.
Actually,
all right.
There's some good Willie Nelson Cowboy songs.
Yeah. I think there's like specifically about cowboys should be more emotional.
Yeah, that's one of his new ones.
Yeah,
new album about the gay cowboys.
Yeah, about the gay cowboys.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, there it
wearing
is.
chaps.
Yes, yeah.
And
I don't remember the name of the song.
I can't remember it either. What the heck?
Yeah. Let's get his permission to play that on here.
Yeah. I don't think Spotify.
I'll call him later.
So, yeah. All right. Well, this, you know what? This good segue. We talked about James. You mentioned the easy button. So This is where I'm going to talk about the term enshittification of Stoicism. When I said the term enshittification, what does that mean to you guys? You guys know what I mean by that? It's like
when you smear shit on things.
Yeah.
That's what comes to mind.
I mean,
Turned into trash.
yes, exactly. That's what it means. Yeah, somebody takes something that probably was useful and turns it into trash. So, all right, I'm gonna name some people here, and for the record, I don't have a problem with this individual, okay? But they keep coming up. And so this is where I want to call out the first hit on both my Google and YouTube search, and that is the Daily Stoic run by Ryan Holiday. So James, you mentioned Ryan Holiday last time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna preface this with I don't have a personal problem with Ryan Holiday. I think he's a fantastic individual. I think he is trying to make a living out of this stuff, and it is what it is, for better or worse. So, Ryan, if you're hearing me, keep doing what you're doing. So because I do have like complicated feelings about what he is doing with it, because he does really, like, I listened to a couple of his books. He really does know his stuff. And he's trying to do his best to like integrate or help other people integrate Stoicism into their lives. So now he does portray a healthy version of Stoicism, but again, if you're trying to make this bite size for people, it does not encompass what it needs to encompass. Okay. So this is where things start to fall apart with the Daily Stoic, is that you ultimately can't make living a virtuous life into bite-sized topics. So again, to be clear, Ryan Holiday is also not just the only person who is doing this. You find 10-minute self-help videos from other Stoicism influencers that use AI-generated marble figures. They're cut as hell. These guys are ripped, man. Not like the real Stoics who like were malnourished and right, were balding most of the time. So nope, they were not like those real Stoics. So they ultimately try to give you what I will call a hallmark version of Stoicism. So I'll pull the top 5 videos from the Daily Stoics YouTube channel, and I'll use those to kind of illustrate my point. So, okay, here's the titles of the top 5 from the Daily Stoics channel. So the first one is 9 Stoic Rules for a Better Life from Marcus Aurelius. The next one is Marcus Aurelius's Advice for Better Days. Third video, 12 Stoic Questions that will change your life. There's 8 Stoic don'ts for a better life. And last, have better days with Marcus Aurelius's daily routine. Ryan Holiday on practicing Stoicism. I love these crappy YouTube titles. So, I mean, ultimately, this is where this list completely falls apart for me, and I think would fall apart for the Stoics in general, is that they would ultimately never reduce their philosophy down to this level, right? Their way of living can't be consolidated into a list of 8 facts or 9 rules or 12 questions, right? I personally don't have a problem with a short form video that speaks to quotes from Marcus Aurelius, or someone like Ryan Holiday or others sharing his morning routine. That's all fine with me. But the majority of media covering Stoicism online is seen as like this checklist format. Like if you just do these things, you too can be a Stoic. So what this more than likely inadvertently does to Stoicism is turns it into something that is easy to digest but flies in the face of Stoicism. Ryan Holiday's best-selling book, The Obstacle is the Way, okay, remember that title, literally reinforces how simplicity, being spoon-fed philosophy, is the opposite of how Stoicism should be incorporated into someone's life, right? It literally is like, this should be hard is the name of the title of the book, ultimately, right? So here's what I mean. There's a quote from Musonius Rufus's teaching titled On Training. He says, virtue, he said, is not simply theoretical knowledge, but it is the practical application as well, just like the arts of medicine and music. So What do you guys think he is saying with that little quote there? And why is this a good argument against the easy to digest Hallmark gift book approach on how Stoicism is being spread online?
I mean, I think you could say this about anything. I mean, I guess that's part of what philosophy is, right? Is just trying to explain like the human condition and life. But like, I think a lot of things in life boil down to like you can have a book, academic understanding, book-based understanding of a thing, but it's another thing to like actually live out, the tenets of the thing that you understand on an academic level.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I don't fault Ryan too much here. Like this is just the way the internet is.
Yeah.
And I can't fault a guy for like trying to make a buck on a thing that he cares about, and obviously is really intelligent. And has, like you said, he's done his homework. But yeah, I think that's the part that I don't know how you would, I guess, teach that. Right? You can't teach where the rubber meets the road. Like people have to actually have real experiences. So I guess maybe more encouragement of that, of like more examples of how to actually do this would be helpful. Maybe, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, just to break down that quote a little bit right there from On Training, in where he says like, but as the practical application as well, just like the arts of medicine and music, right? So medicine and music, to be a doctor and be a good doctor is not easy. And it takes a lot of practice. You're constantly educating yourself for more than 30 seconds a day, right? Like, and the same to a musician. If you're a really good musician, I mean, Mike, you guys know your whole family's musicians, and how much do you guys practice? It's endless, and it's something you have to apply every single day of your life.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be easy, I guess, but it's supposed to be intentional.
Yeah. 100%. I agree with that. So that's because that's where I specialize in at work, right? Is like our learning and development function all reports through me. And what I've had to teach people, and where I think this kind of falls apart, is people who try to teach other adults things usually write long form as a way to like regurgitate the things that they know, right? But at the end of the day, very few people actually can take that, interpret it, and then apply the thing. So this is where, like, again, I'm a little bit iffy on some of those, like the top 5 videos. Like, there's a difference between I'm just going to tell you the list of things, or I'm going to say, here, practice this one thing. And if you continue to practice that, that is living a Stoic's life, right? Like, oftentimes you'll see people refer to like Marcus Aurelius and journaling. Like I've tried journaling. I can't get into it. But like the idea of sitting there and reflecting on the day is a good thing, right? But taking that, it's not attractive to people to be like, here, get a journal. Like, that's not new, right? That's not new or something that's like novel in a way that's going to be like, oh, there's the missing piece, right? And the attention span, like you were saying, Mike, of people in the modern society, like need something sprinkled on, or to find the missing puzzle piece in their life that they've been, yearning for. But it does take intent and practice to do this stuff.
And it's unfortunate that like that these bite-sized pieces, I think, feed the lowercase Stoic narrative more than proper Stoicism. I mean, Ryan Holiday's maybe an exception there in that he's presenting real great information, but still, even the medium itself. What was it? Neil Postman. The medium is the message. That's an old book too. I need to return to. But even just that medium, right, kind of feeds that fast thinking part of your mind. Kind of feeds the lowercase s Stoic narrative more than the healthier one.
Yeah. Because this is very much, I guess, what Musonius Rufus was saying there is like, there's a clear difference between I know the thing and I can practice the thing, right?
Yes.
It's like, right, you're not going to pick up a guitar after reading the book on how to play a guitar and be a fantastic guitarist, right? Like
Right.
it takes, you have to develop the muscle memory and the calluses on your fingers in the right location to actually be able to do it. And that's the thing where when people do a poor, in my opinion, when people do a poor job, and again, I think maybe Ryan Holiday does this to a certain extent, but others do not, where it's just, they try to impart the knowledge without actually helping you develop the actual skill. And that's a very clear distinction that I think is what has led to what I'll call the enshittification of Stoicism. So
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna keep on going here now. Again, I'm gonna reiterate, like, the topics that Ryan Holiday is sharing aren't bad in any way, and his books I actually found very factual and full of good teachings and context for those teachings set in a modern life. He's obviously done his homework, but I wouldn't say they're perfect. I did read 2 of his books, and they were very good. So if you're looking to integrate Stoicism into your life, it can't be through some type of bite-sized morsel of like a step-by-step content or daily quotes in your inbox or a set of flashcards you can buy online. Okay, that's just not the way to incorporate Stoicism in your life. Okay, so there is also a world of Stoicism online through things like courses and coaches out there. And these things are a tragedy all unto themselves. So the video I mentioned earlier from the Aperture channel on YouTube has some excellent examples of their employees trying out different ways of getting into Stoicism. There was this really awful example from one of the guys who uses Fiverr. Okay, you guys know Fiverr? It's where you can pay someone a couple bucks for some service, like make me a logo or something like that. Yeah, so he used that to pay for Stoicism coaching. What could go wrong, right? It's got to be perfect. Okay, so
Give me my $5 Stoicism lesson.
Oh my God.
This is what he said as he finished his call with his Stoicism coach. So he says, when we think of Broicism and what Stoicism has become, I think this dude is a pretty good representative of it in a way. Just the examples he used were bizarre. Like, it was always violence against you, violence against women. As someone who doesn't have a ton of knowledge in it, this kind of made me want to stay away from it. Because I'm like, if this is the community potentially, if this is the people running courses, then why would I want to do this? Yeah, I think overall that call was just not successful. I had to pay $30 for it.
Oh, man.
Oh my God.
So what do you guys take away from that?
Well, I mean, bravo for reading that for one. Yeah.
I would feel similarly, my good dude at Aperture. If that were my introduction, it sounds like.
Well,
yeah,
you
it
got
is
what you
funny.
paid
The
for.
video, yeah, the video does have I think it's 3 or 4 people that try these different things out. I think one person had something that actually went somewhat successfully, but yeah, this was probably the worst case scenario where they actually show clips of the call and stuff like that, and it's
Really?
it is pretty miserable, this guy. So. All right.
He sounds like he probably wears one of those 12 angels, 12 legions shirts.
He does. He's going to bust your jaw because of the Lord.
Because stoic. Sorry.
That's what Marcus Aurelius would have done. Okay, so the last area I want to dig into. Okay. Take a deep breath. Like the guy who just paid $30 for a Stoicism coach called it, has been the term they coined Broicism. So here we go again, guys. The damn Manosphere rears its ugly head and takes a complicated topic to manipulate it into a confirmation-biased hellscape of shallow ignorance. Okay, can't stand these oily flex bros. If I go back to one of the most defining characteristics of how the Manosphere operates, it's the constant one-upsmanship where elements of the Manosphere are in constant pissing match to see who is the most extreme version of disordered masculinity. Stoicism, or Broicism, is one of those examples. Damn it. So, the Manosphere has specifically adopted Marcus Aurelius as their Stoic icon, and it's pretty simple to see why. He was the Stoic emperor. often portrayed as the Roman legionnaire with rippling muscles and a broccoli haircut. Everything a looks maxer could dream of. He's
God.
like clavicular come to life again, right?
Is he like over there with his piece of wood or bone, like smoothing his
gua
cheeks?
sha? He's micro breaking his jaw. So
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's so stoic of him.
Oh man, yeah. So last time I checked, clavicular was so stoic that he overdosed on his live stream. So whoopsie. So I shouldn't make fun of people who are having a hard time in their lives. They're just trying to make a buck, but dude, come on.
Find another way.
Yeah. So, okay, anyways, get back on track here. Just like most of the things that they've adopted, it's a really superficial interpretation or just complete disregard for the original material that has spun into this creation. They are the people who have adopted the lowercase Stoic versus the uppercase Stoicism, or use them interchangeably. In fact, one of the reasons that locked in the need for us to cover this series was a flood of advertisements I saw online that promoted Stoicism as a class that could do things like, quote, take dad from rage and anger to calm and peaceful. This was originally going to be an internet bullshit I wanted to go into, but it was just too big of a topic and so blatant in its corruption. So prior to this series, what was your experience with Stoicism? Did it kind of like pop into your life through these like bite-sized Instagram ads and stuff like that?
Yeah, it popped up here and there. And it was like you said earlier, right? It's like the bust of Marcus Aurelius, and there's a thunderstorm in the background with like eagles
Raging
flying
seas.
over. Yeah. And it's just like, you need Stoicism in daily chunks every day. Like, it's just that kind of advertisement. Yeah.
Yes, I have too. I don't know why, like probably a month or two ago, I started seeing a ton of these, and actually the Daily Stoic was one of them that I've kind of enjoyed along the way, but they're not all that quality. Other than that, like, no, I don't think I've thought of Stoicism since probably, like, I'm sure I talked about it in college when I had to take philosophy classes, but other than that, no, it hasn't. It's just becoming this cultural moment, right? It's either there's a lot of interest in it or people are selling it a lot.
Right, right.
It's like supplements, right?
It's same, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I found this guy, name is Massimo Pigliucci. Okay, so he did an interview, he's did a number of interviews. He was actually in that Aperture video also, but he did an interview with a channel called The Big Think. So Massimo Pigliucci, he's like a Renaissance man, okay? He is a philosopher, a biologist, and an author of the book How to Be a Stoic. So, dude, how do you have time for that? For the record, like, I can barely do a job and a podcast. So, but anyways, his book, How to Be a Stoic, and in the interview with The Big Think, he describes that the tipping point for how Stoicism has turned into Broicism is based on the simplification of Stoicism. Quote, he says that Stoicism is good only as a remedy towards setbacks and challenges, okay, which is not what it should be done. Like we just talked about, the thought that Stoicism is a self-help book versus a way of looking at or living your life. So Pigliucci says, it's just as useful in good times as in bad times. It's just that people tend to reach for it when they're in distress, and then they become sort of a little bit relaxed, probably inappropriately relaxed, I should say, when it comes to the good times. So when you contrast this with the Manosphere, nobody in that ecosystem is thinking about the cosmopolitan nature of their decisions throughout their day, but instead pulling out some Marcus Aurelius quote to pummel some lesser bro over the head with and shame them for having a moment of feeling. You can't practice Stoicism only when it's convenient. So Pigliucci later says, certain kinds of young men who are attracted to what they think of as Stoicism because it validates their notion that a good person, a strong person, particularly a strong man, is somebody who is silent, who controls their emotions, and so on and so forth. But that's Stoicism with the little s. Now, we already talked about how easily confused people can be between these two concepts, but if the work has not been put in, if the interpretation is superficial, it can be misconstrued and lead to a confirmation biased application, which is what we are seeing from the Manosphere. This application is then boosted because of the innate nature of the way that the Manosphere operates, where being the best, the alpha, is used to both climb over the lesser men, stepping on their bodies, on the way to make the most money from insecure men and boys looking for an inspirational figure to emulate. Stoic philosophy is more than just the control of one's emotions. Are the Tate brothers out there talking about the 4 pillars of living a virtuous life? Wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance? Nope, I don't think so. Jordan Peterson is hypocritical in his teaching versus his behavior in real life. Any one of these bros that flaunts their material wealth but compromises their character is in direct conflict with the classical Stoics' view on life and death. Zeno, the origin point for Stoicism, started by literally losing everything in a shipwreck, and then spent the rest of his life using that loss as a life lesson rooted in how one should cope with that situation. He didn't get pissed at the gods for causing the shipwreck. He accepted that fact with all of his wealth was lost, and instead of going out and trying to hustle and scam his way back to his previous financial standing, he embraced simple living because there was no way for him to control whether or not another shipwreck would happen again. The life lesson was the shipwreck and how he responded to it. There's no hustler's university in the schools of Stoicism. So, pulling out quotes from Marcus Aurelius can be inspiring for young men and seem like sage advice from someone who is preying upon men lost in a world that is chaotic and, frankly, not in good shape right now. To pull my thoughts together after 2 episodes on Stoicism, where I've landed is this. Philosophy is tough. It reminds me of a lot of religious thought. It predates, and its principles informed a lot of what is found in Christianity. While the basic teachings you find in most religions are good, the followers can use it as justification for a lot of bad. Well, we just had an internet bullshit all about this, didn't we?
Yeah, right.
And this ultimately is what gives Stoicism a bad name, which is unfortunate because people will begin to generalize all Stoicism and stereotype those who try to incorporate it into their lives, lumping them and those who fall into the world of Broicism into one big pot of stew. The branding of Stoicism will more than likely be perpetually damaged as a result, leaving a scar on the legacy of Epictetus, Seneca, Zeno, and Marcus Aurelius. Imagine that. You spend your whole damn life living to be a great, virtuous member of society, to be looked up to posthumously, only to have some steroid-riddled fuckboy tarnish that legacy 2,000 years in the future, because they're too stupid and greedy to understand humanity's good and only see others as a grocery list of consumables to be chewed up and spit out. All right, now I'm pissed.
Woo, woo. Dang.
Take a breather.
Don't make me laugh.
Yeah, you got too many holes in your guts, man. Oh, God. You just start leaking. All right, so a couple questions to think about. All right, so we're kind of wrapped up there with the damage that has been done to classical Stoicism. Okay, so is there any way you could either prevent ongoing damage or repair Stoicism? Or has the damage been done at this point?
I know. I hope, and I take comfort in the hope that things like the Manosphere are going to be a fleeting cultural moment, and that I hope things that have stood the test of time, like Stoicism and Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, aren't going to be harmed by the ramblings of misguided boys at the start of the 21st century. We'll see. Time will tell. But I that's my current hope, is that like these little boys misunderstand this, and it's not going to actually hurt. I guess, the idea of Stoicism. Now, is it going to do damage to society? Absolutely.
Yeah, it already is. Yeah.
Yeah, I likened it in the outline here to like the thin blue line flags, right? Where like if I rewinded, I don't know, 20 years ago, if they existed back then, they probably meant something very different than when I look at the thin blue line flag nowadays, right? Like that's the type of thing where somebody co-opted something and used it to basically its detriment, right? So that's what I see kind of playing out here with Stoicism right now. Now, is there a, 20, 50 years in the future, is there some type of, it fell out of favor and then it comes back in a more educated and intentional way? That I don't know. So,
yeah. Reminded me of another good song, John Prine, "Your flag decal won't get you into heaven anymore." Have you heard that?
That's right.
Talking about thin blue line. That's along the same lines of a co-opted symbol.
Yeah. All right. So the last and like meatiest question. So we did 2 episodes. We did the pros and the cons with Stoicism. So where did you guys land with Stoicism in the end?
I mean, I think capital S Stoicism is not a bad thing, right? I think that it can do a lot of good for someone if they're looking for, I don't know, like direction is the right word, or maybe like intentionality of like what do I do with the things I'm feeling, right? Like I think that's a good thing to think about, right? And so is all philosophy and that kind of stuff. And I haven't had as much formal education around it, but I think that capital S Stoicism is not a bad thing. I think that it has unfortunately been ruined by the boys that we just talked about.
Yeah. And I don't know that I would, like, I agree, James. I think it's valuable when understood, correctly, and when you don't leave out the meat
the
of
hard stuff.
Right, the hard stuff, yeah. I also don't think, like, I would recommend that somebody, like, just fully embrace this as, like, the one guiding set of principles that they live their life by, just because I don't think that any human path of thought or philosophy or practice probably has gotten everything right, but I do think it's super worth, like, actually learning about the meat of capital S Stoicism and taking from it what you can when you can, because I do think there are great ideas. And I always keep mentioning those 4 words. Like, if you just go to those those 4 like core concepts, and we just said it, wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, like those are all admirable things that I think help people to consider living their lives by. Yeah.
I think for me, I think it's humanity has always needed some form of like morality code to live by. Right. And like I said, this predates Christianity and most modern religions. And maybe those modern religions have like taken the place of Stoicism, so we didn't really need it anymore. But they didn't take everything with it, I guess is what I would say. So I think there's the concept of, do we need a comprehensive code of ethics and morality as a culture in order to be good to each other? I think there's value in that. Now, does it have to be Stoicism? I think Stoicism does a pretty dang good job in my mind if you do it correctly. But I think there is more value in understanding the broad swath of what those lessons teach, regardless of whether it's all philosophy or religion, as a whole. Like, understanding what it means, like the questions they were trying to answer around how do you live a good life? How do you be a good human? How do you help society? Stuff like that. Like those are all good questions I think men should wrestle with. Yeah. Now, whether it's Stoicism or not is a different choice, but I do think Stoicism does a pretty good job at it. So, so that being said, like, I think Stoicism in general is good, but you have to be super selective in where you're getting your sources from nowadays. Right. Like if you're a dude out there who's like, I want to get into Stoicism, you got to find the right people to teach you, or the right sources to go to. So there's some pretty good books out there that we've referenced throughout the series. But yeah, do not do it through YouTube, essentially. Is what I'm trying to say.
Or an app on your phone.
Yeah. So, okay. All right. Well, while I think Stoicism is well-meaning, its brand has ultimately been tarnished. So you remember last episode I talked about my wife's friend's husband, Steve, who said you should do an episode on Stoicism. So we're closing it out here, Steve. So hopefully this met your expectations. Now, if you need a reminder or a refresher of all the good things, go back and listen to part 1 of this series. Or heck, go pick up a book or find some works from the classical Hellenistic Stoics for free online. You can find them in a PDF usually. It's ultimately another thing that the Manosphere and other ignorant groups have taken and manipulated by homogenizing 2 distinctly different uses of the word Stoic, or peddling it as a plastic, inspirational, self-help flashcard way of living, ultimately cheapening its impact. Stoicism in modern life can be something that, if practiced correctly, can have immense meaning for someone who is seeking structure. A set of standards of living in the absence of the magical and supernatural elements of most other religions. So if you find Stoicism attractive, practice it humbly. Let it bring you closer to nature as intended, and understand that emotional regulation is never the same as emotional suppression. Dang, man. I'm going to call this one done. It's not gone. I'll probably carry this series with me forever to the grave and beyond. All right, we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Dang Man. You know the script. Subscribe to us on your favorite platform, write us a review, and share your favorite experiences with your friends. All of this helps us reach more men to grow our community.